4th seeds. Very unlikely because A, we're not expecting Kraken to really get a map here against Sydney Drop Bears, and Mind Freak versus Legacy, I'll be leaning towards Legacy for that one. But there is a world in which Kraken can actually make it to playoffs.
It sounds tough for them to make it, but the reality is that their destiny is in their own hands, Jordan. If they wanted a better result, they needed to have won a match before last week, right? So this is essentially a position that Kraken have put themselves in, now up against the best team in the region, looking for a map here to get themselves into this game.
Yeah, they're going to be starting off with McCree and a Hanzo here. So not necessarily the same GOATS composition that you would be used to for Kraken. An exchange of frags as Huss is going to start to do a little bit of damage on the McCree of his own. Little bit of a mirror match though, some nuanced differences in the compositions. Haas getting the better of QVN here, not quite though, cleaned up by Caramel Koala with the Storm Arrows.
Looked like Drop Bears were going to find the point, but not going to be the case. Kraken back on there now, 3 on the point behind the shield, looking good.
Yeah, so
we'll see, no one's going to contest for now, and the Drop Bears happy to give this up for just the moment.
Just a bit more single target healing there for Kraken. Leverett being able to keep those guys up a little bit longer, plus the res of course comes in as well, which is an advantage there for Kraken. They're also able to put more damage out. Caramel Koala doing quite a lot there. You can see him up to 93% of the Dragon Strike already, forcing the changeover from Sydney Drop Bears. They've gone back to the Winston Goats.
Yeah, Winston going to be pushing through now, and it's going to force Kraken off the point. The Drop Bears looking to pick this one up. Caramel Koala, as you can see, does have the Dragon Strike available. I'm not going to use it right now. Chrono had gone down. Decides to throw it out this time.
Gets a Kraken.
Yeah, does find a Kraken. But is that going to be enough?
Well, it's not going to be enough to win the fight for Sydney Drop Bears, what they've achieved so far, but they have actually managed to flip the point back over. Bertlog somehow survives. I think there may have been a right-click in from Shoyo there to keep him up. Lucky in any case. Yeah,
well, Kraken back onto the point, looking to bring this back in their favor. Huss going to go down to Legabril as well. We'll see what Soho can do here on the Diva, but it's a difficult position to be in. Self-destruct going to come through from the Drop Bears as well, forcing them out off the point. As the Drop Bears do now get themselves into the lead. Soho with a self-destruct of his own.
It really feels like a very prolonged fight at the moment, doesn't it? And I think this is the difference between the two teams. The fact that Sydney Drop Bears were actually able to cap the point over means that this prolonged fight is favourable for them, even despite the fact that one could argue Kraken actually did win that exchange.
Yeah, Kraken maybe wins the exchange, but the Drop Bears have the players with the skill, with a little bit better micro perhaps, and able to keep themselves alive and keep the point going.
I think it's more so the macro.
Find 2 more as well, and it's easy. I feel like when they get on the point, Jordan, even if they're down players, they may still win the fight.
Can you imagine how that fight would have gone had Kraken actually been on the point, had they been able to keep that point in their favor? We might see Kraken up to 99% right now and Sydney Drop Bears only now capping it over, but in fact, Sydney Drop Bears are up to 75% and Kraken are the ones with their backs against the wall.
Yeah, not an ideal position, that's for sure, but one maybe we expected to see them in. The Drop Bears already up to 85%, not far to go. Graviton Surge is going to come through from Kraken, but Legabril going to go down. The Drop Bears decimate them in that fight, not really needing to use anything at all either. And well, as a result of this, Jordan, they will get to 99, get to 100%. It's going to be easy peasy.
Yeah, too easy indeed for Kraken. Soho is going to be able to get the touch, but it's really going to be a short-lived thing for Kraken. Inevitably, they are going to fall here, and it's just a matter of time. We see the Wrecking Ball out there as well to try and get onto the point a little bit longer, but really this is dire straits. And when it gets to this point, Ben, you already know that the round is over.
Yes.
You're just waiting. And that is probably going to be it. That's going to clean it up, I think.
Yeah, just waiting through. There we go. Overtime finally ticks away.
Yeah,
first round on the first map.
Some nice experimenting, I think, from both teams to begin with there. We saw the McCree come out for both sides. We saw even a Hanzo there for Caramel Koala early on in the piece, and that worked okay for Kraken, but I think it was the macro that sort of let them down a little bit. Getting off the point, allowing Sydney Drop Bears to cap it over when really Kraken was winning the fight. Kraken definitely could have put themselves in a better position there, but once Sydney Drop Bears jumped back over onto the tried and true, Chrono back over onto his Winston, which we know he's very, very strong on, and obviously Huss going back over onto the Zaya, also incidentally very strong on that hero. Sydney Drop Bears were easily able to clean things up, and it didn't really look like much of a contest past the initial fight.
Yeah, and look, that's probably what we expect here between the Drop Bears and Kraken. But as we said, Kraken looking for at least a map. They've got 4 at a minimum to work with. So we'll see if this, look, to be fair, if they do get to the 5th and final map, and they've already done what they needed to do, Jordan.
Yeah, but if you're not taking every possible advantage, you're not going to beat the Sydney Drop Bears.
No.
Kraken starts off well.
Yeah, down first. That's not what the Drop Bears wanted, but it may allow Kraken, the team now, to find themselves the point to start things off. Soho getting chased down there.
It's double main tank out for Kraken with Legabriel and Soho playing Reinhardt and Winston respectively. So a lot of shields, a lot of bulk there for Kraken, and essentially what they want to do here, obviously they do have more or less a GOATS composition, and so too does Sydney Drop Bears, but they want to just smash their way into Sydney Drop Bears, which is exactly what they did. Soho being the one on the front foot, leading the charge with the Winston. We saw Chronododa on his own Winston just playing back, trying to counter dive, but
big grab
wasn't the
going
case.
to come out from the Drop Bears as well, and that'll win them this fight. They'll capture the point. They should be able to do, though, about 20% here, so easily done.
Problem is, Ben, when you've got big, bulky targets like Legabriel and like Soho jumping in your face, makes it pretty easy for the Graviton Surge to be charged up, especially when those shields get broken by Sydney Drop Bears so quickly, which is something that they're very good at.
And there's no Diva to stop it. There's no defense matrix here for Kraken, so you know that if you throw out that Graviton Surge, it's going to hit.
There is one for Shoyo, though, so we'll see what he can do against Caramel Koala this time.
Yeah. Oh, nice Earth Shatter going to come through there as well. Great work. Legabriel finds a Kraken. Looking to clean this one up. CKM goes down as well. Kraken maybe going to win this fight. They are slowly pushing the Drop Bears back.
Yeah, but this is where Sydney Drop Bears are just going to sort of stagger onto the point, trickle a little bit, try to buy as much percentage as they can. Not going to give it over too easily, but inevitably the fight will go the way of Kraken. Very, very nicely timed sound barrier out from Leverett in that fight. We saw a pretty nice Earth Shatter, actually, from Chrono, but it didn't really end up resulting in too much because the sound barrier was there, not to mention also the rally on top of that from QVN, and just too much HP for Sydney Drop Bears to chunk through in that case.
In terms of ultimates, it's in favor of Kraken right now. Caramel Koala still not using this Graviton Surge. Does throw it out, manages to capture a number of the Drop Bears players off guard. Picks up one, but if they only find Bertlog out of all of that, that probably wasn't the greatest result that they needed.
No, quite an expensive fight actually for Kraken there with the Transcendence and the Grav invested in. Sydney Drop Bears have really not thrown much in there, and they've built a lot up in the last fight as well. So this is going to be their attempt to turn things around.
Here comes the grab from the Drop Bears, catches a couple, and you can see they do follow it up. It's the support who finds the kill. Legabriel is low, and you think the rest of the team will go down once they've lost the healing. Primal Rage will be used as well. The point goes over to the Drop Bears, and Kraken are left without any ultimates to use in the next fight. The Drop Bears in prime position.
They certainly are. I mean, there's obviously a little bit of a deficit there for Sydney Drop Bears, about 20% behind, but Kraken aren't going to be able to charge ults up in the time that it takes Sydney Drop Bears to get an advantage. And having a look at the economy right now for Sydney Drop Bears, they've been balancing it very, very well. Shield bash in there from CKM. Good block from Chrono.
It will, but Legabriel's going to go down. GVN looking low as well. We've got this self-destruct, probably not even going to be needed, to be perfectly honest. Kraken going to get picked up one by one and slowly staggered as well by the looks of it.
It was a good block from Legabriel, I should say, not from Chrono. It was Chrono's shout out, didn't hit much. I think that was just an attempt from CKM and Chrono to try and get the shield bash Earth Shatter working, and it didn't in that case. I don't think the shield bash actually connected onto Legabriel. Here's a chance though for Kraken when they have got that sound barrier, they have got Grav. Oh,
here we go, looking for the hole-in-one, Jordan, over the top it goes, doesn't find anyone, but Zettel's going to go down. Caramel Koala picked up as well, so that should be that, to be perfectly honest. Trance comes through as well. Sound barrier for Kraken.
Too late.
Legabriel's got an Earth Shatter, but maybe won't even get onto the point in time. Going to get caught up there on the ledge. No one left here for Kraken either. And the Drop Bears going to 2-0 here on Ilios.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, not a particularly surprising result. I thought Kraken, at least on Ruins, were able to contest a little bit, and they probably could have contested a little bit harder there as well. In that final fight, it seemed like they really were just trying to sort of jump on the point. It didn't seem like there was much communication in terms of who was actually going to get that touch. You saw Caramel Koala trying to run on forward. Soho was already on the point, I think, at that point. And also the sound barrier comes out really, really late from Leverett. So I'm not sure what was going on there. Probably needed to come down before the two players were dropped. Regardless, though, you can see the class of Sydney Drop Bears just a little bit stronger in the end. There was moments where Kraken were able to get advantages, and there was moments where potentially if Kraken was a stronger side, they would have actually won this or any of those particular rounds. Unfortunately, though, Sydney Drop Bears for Kraken here are the best team in the region, and you're not going to be able to get away with just being good enough in one fight or 1.5 fights. You need to win probably 2 or 3 or 4 fights to actually win any round on a control point, and unfortunately the consistency isn't quite there at the moment for Kraken.
Yeah, it's actually pretty tough to play control against one of the top teams because it's not just about finding the advantage once, right? You know, if you're playing Assault, maybe you find the advantage once, you get point A, right? For Control, it doesn't work like that. So inevitably, if both teams turn up, warmed up, ready to go, it's probably the better team is going to pick it up. And even though Kraken did well to find the point first up, you know, capture it to start things off. Obviously, the Drop Bears just too strong, and they played out a little bit better. Yeah,
I think that's probably something that we will expect to see throughout the rest of today's match as well, with Sydney Drop Bears just being a bit of a cut above Kraken here. As far as what the next map is going to be, again, I'm not necessarily concerned as to what it is going to potentially be for Sydney Drop Bears. They are very, very strong on both Hollywood and on Numbani. It's going to be Hollywood in the end here. We'll have to see how Kraken is going to go. But remember, Ben, they need at least 1 or 2 maps here, or 1 or 2 rounds to give themselves a chance if Legacy does go down against Mindfreak. So for me, Kraken, they still need to be focusing on every single map, even if you know, even if we get to our final map, even if we get to Route 66, I'm going to assume it probably will be, and they're down 3-0. It doesn't matter if the series is lost. If you can get a map on the board right now as Kraken, that could potentially be the difference.
That's it. And what we saw on Ilios from Kraken wasn't bad. They played relatively well. They're just going up against a very difficult opponent. They just need to find an advantage once or twice and make the most of it, and that's what they'll be looking for here. Kraken on attack. The Drop Bears going to start things off on defense as we move across to Hollywood. We take a look at this Kraken lineup.
Once again, we're going to be getting Legabrill out on the Reinhardt. It's more or less the standard Goats composition that we do tend to see for Kraken. Winston Goats for Sydney Drop Bears as they'll try and engage the fight.
Very early fight, actually. Straight into it. The Drop Bears not wasting any time. Chrono drops on top. Chrono actually very low there. Almost going to get picked up. Staying alive for now. But it's Kraken who one by one. Looks like they're going to get pushed back through the barrier there.
Yeah, not a bad trade for Sydney Drop Bears in that case, losing the Brigitte for the Zenyatta. Just having that extra 30% Discord Orb damage for Sydney Drop Bears did result in the fight going their way. Obviously, Brigitte is a pretty premium target, but Sydney Drop Bears were able to keep their players alive nonetheless. Yeah. And the Discord Orb did make it a little bit easier to put Legabrill under pressure.
Second attack now going to come through from Kraken, looking to try and get themselves on the point again. Legabrill going to go low. Getting healed up, however, for now. But you can see with Chrono right there in his face, it makes life very tough. CKM actually going to be the one who picks that up.
It's such a tough life playing the Reinhardt in a meta like this. As soon as your shield goes down, there's a Discord Orb on you. And in that point, you know, even what would normally just be a little bit of a tickle, you know, something like the Tesla cannon out from Winston, which ordinarily isn't a problem for Reinhardt, starts to become a real threat because it can go through the shield. And obviously Discord Orb, a lot of extra damage coming off that, and so far Sydney Drop Bears are really doing a great job of just keeping Legabrill out of this contest. He's a shield, but once that shield is down, once he gets low, he's really not a threat at all.
Well, he's a shield until he's not a shield, essentially, is what you're saying here, Jordan, which is, to be fair, perfectly correct. Kraken going to be looking for perhaps 6 ultimates, and they're going to use the Rally. Not a bad choice, to be honest. Legabrill going to have that Earthshatter up as well, but the Drop Bears have 5 worst 6 ultimates of their own. Graviton Surge going to come through. It's going to be a trans from the Drop Bears to try and keep the team alive. Trans for both teams, actually. They're going to fall back. They've already lost Legabrill in that fight. Leverett's gone down as well. So it probably wasn't necessarily the fight that they wanted to take, even though it looked like maybe they would have an advantage.
Yeah, and Sydney Drop Bears doing such a great job of chasing as far as they can, putting as much pressure on that time bank of Kraken as they possibly can. All the way to the spawn is where Sydney Drop Bears are chasing, which you don't ordinarily see, but they're so confident. And here comes the self-destruct.
Looking for a big one here, the Earthshatter as well from Legabrill. No one going to go down to the self-destruct. But Chrono's just in the midst of it.
I don't know if you saw that, Ben, but Legabrill had Earthshattered and he was getting booped up in the air. I don't know for how long by Chrono before that Earthshatter actually went down. But obviously a misused Earthshatter in the end. Nicely done from Chrono.
It's a little bit unfortunate as well because the Drop Bears obviously not with a Reinhardt to deal with a well-timed
Ult advantage for Kraken now, though.
Yeah, this is the fight that they need to win. 55 seconds on the clock, going to throw out what they can. Shields on both teams now, and Chrono going to go down finally there to Soho. Maybe this is the pick that they need. They've obviously lost their tank, and now QBN goes down as well.
Kraken really wants this Transcendence. If he gets it, it probably wins the fight for Sydney Drop Bears, and he has managed to build it up now, and as soon as he gets low, he's going to throw that one out, and that's going to keep everyone alive. Now Kraken can't win the fight at all. Perfect timing from a Kraken. And Kraken, unfortunately, unlike their friend on the other side of the field, are going to be falling by the wayside.
Yeah, that's not great. Losing players very late in that fight as well. 20 seconds on the clock. Yeah, they can get someone there, but they're not going to be coming out as a group of 6. And, well, up against the Drop Bears, you can't afford to be running to the point. There's very little they can do.
I don't even know if they're going to be able to get to the point.
Yeah, maybe it's Zettel if he can come out with the Transcendence.
Leverett might get the touch.
Looking very close. Doesn't get onto the point, unfortunately. Chrono picks him up, and round 1 going to be complete. The Drop Bears doing a great job on defense, to be fair, as to be expected. And now they just need to find, I think, just one tick. 1/3, yeah.
It's looking pretty easy today for Sydney Drop Bears, but the expectation was such that this would be exactly the case. Very, very strong GOATS composition out from Sydney Drop Bears. Even with the sub-in, of course, Shoyo is not the main off-tank for Sydney Drop Bears, though for the last couple of weeks he has been. Punk's overseas, to my understanding. But regardless, you know, Shoyo, I said in any other roster he would be the main player, he would be the core player. The fact is that he's on Sydney Drop Bears, maybe he's taken a break from the game, what have you. He is supposed to be a coach or an assistant coach for this Sydney Drop Bears roster, but he's a very, very serviceable player.
I was going to say, it's not bad if that's your coach or your assistant coach.
Two-time champion here in AU Contenders.
Yeah, if you can sub in for the team and still be one of the best in the region, that's...
Exactly. So if I had to have a sub on my
getting Coach Bombay in, mate. If you got Coach Bombay into the Mighty Ducks, I'm not sure that if he'd be up for it. His knee would go. Not the case for Shoyo.
Definitely not. And things are looking fantastic today for Sydney Drop Bears. It's really no concerns that I'm seeing at the moment. Their ult rotations are really, really good. Their team fights are really, really good. They're not giving any opportunities really over to Kraken. I mean, everything seems to be working right now for Sydney Drop Bears. And it, for me, feels like Kraken is kind of bashing their head against a brick wall and hoping to get through, but it's just not happening.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the Drop Bears are a pretty good brick wall, made with only the finest of bricks and by the best bricklayers in the land. Very tough to get past them, but now it's their turn to attack. Going to be pushing out here, as we said, just needing to find 33% on point A. We'll pick them up Hollywood and put them up 2-0 heading into the break. Ever close to that 20-0 regular season. Haven't lost a map yet. Not looking to make it Hollywood right now either. Gabriel
just gets pushed out of position a little bit there, but won't be punished too much by Sydney Drop Bears. So dangerous right now, though, as the shield is going down. And that'll be Sydney Drop Bears' opportunity to strike.
Kraken all very low. Gabriel low, QBN low, Soho low. They're doing what they can to stay alive, but not even able to fight on the point. Finally pushing themselves back in, but you can see the tanks are about to fall. And that should be a GG here. The Drop Bears going to take down Hollywood. Very convincing fashion.
Shoyo doing so much damage in that fight. How quickly he built the self-destruct up. Not only that, but of course for Sydney Drop Bears, being able to damage the shield so quickly, put Gabriel under pressure so quickly. Once Gabriel's shield goes down, that's the go signal for Sydney Drop Bears, because they can just charge on in there and Kraken's going to fall to bits. Just so much free damage being able to come out there from Sydney Drop Bears. And that's one thing I think that Sydney Drop Bears does a lot better than most teams here in AU Contenders, is they just break the shield faster than anyone else. And you could see how quickly it went from a point where Gabriel was standing there trying to hold off, be that wall, to Gabriel starting to back up, and eventually backing all the way off the point. And Sydney Drop Bears then had the positioning, and they had the damage, and they had the win.
I think a lot of that obviously comes down to the fact that everyone stays alive for so long as well. If you've got a team, you know, they're hitting their shots, everyone's doing their bit, and your heals are strong, then, you know, you can play aggressively. It allows you to get right in there, bring that shield down, and once they've lost their Reinhardt,
Look, that is actually probably going to be a top 5 play for the week.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Because
you don't see it very often either.
You never see that. That is actually really, really nice juggling from Chrono. It's not as easy as it looks. If you've ever played Winston and tried to Primal Rage and Earth Shatter up like that, good luck.
Yeah, it's
more likely you're going to end flat on your face on the ground.
It's a bit of a shame too, because they were getting right in their face. Kraken weren't really getting any opportunity to push out of essentially their spawn room and actually take a fight where they've been able to prepare for it. You come out and someone's right on top of you straight away.
Exactly. I mean, it was almost spawn camping really from Sydney.Bez at that point. I think that once they won that first fight, once they had the ult economy advantage, they were able to really just control every single fight. And it almost wasn't like they were on the defense. They were more so on the attack.
Yeah.
They were pushing forward. They were the ones trying to take the fights. They were being proactive, and unfortunately for Kraken, that meant that they had to be reactive and not a good position to be put in against Sydney.Bez.
Well, guys and girls, it's half time between the Drop Bears and Kraken, and we will be back right after this break.